100 days ago, I didn't think this was possible. 100 videos in 100 days, daily uploading. It's an absolute insane project. Looking back, it's even more insane than I thought. Yeah, I wanted to talk about it, explain to you guys what you can get out of it if you decide to go daily, because I realize there's no real resource for people thinking about doing this or wondering, what are the benefits, if any? Is it just like, a proven formula for creator burnout like so many of us think? What can you get out of it? What did I get out of it? I've made a little over 100 videos. I think I've uploaded a little bit less, but it all averages out to about 100 videos in 100 days. Totally bizarre that we're here, and I've got a lot of thoughts because it was surprising in the ways that it was great, and also in the ways like, oh, I didn't expect this part to suck so much. So to be clear, like, one of the reasons I got in was, yes, can I do this? Could I? Is it possible? Because, I've been a monthly uploader in the past. Like on Coffee Break, I made a video a month, and I couldn't imagine making more than that because it was like so taxing. And one of the reasons it was taxing actually was I had really bad writer's block. No idea is ever good enough. Like, I would spend probably 2 weeks out of the 4 weeks just trying to think of an idea. What's the idea? And some of that was productive. Some of it was just unproductive writer's block that is unhelpful. And I wanted to cure myself of that very explicitly. And I've never forgotten one podcast that Malcolm Gladwell had with Tim Ferriss, where he talks about the cure to writer's block. Let's take a listen together, shall we? Because this is pro number one of going daily.
You run into writer's block? If so, how does that manifest, and what do you do?
I don't, I worked for 10 years at a newspaper, and if that experience teaches you anything, it's that you can't have writer's block. I mean, you quite literally can't. I mean, the story will be, you'll start the story at 10:30 and it's due at 4 or 4:30 or whatever. Back in those days, there was hard deadlines. So you can't have, it's unthinkable.
You don't have the luxury.
And if you went to your bosses and you said, I'm blocked on the story, they would look at you like you were insane. Like,
take off your beret, put down your poetry. You have a job to do.
So it's like, there's not even an issue. So, I did used to have these issues, and then I went to the Washington Post, and you get cured in a hurry of any pretensions you have about your writing.
That idea stuck in me for years. I probably heard this when it first came out 4 years ago. And I had always thought, I have that problem. I have writer's block and I want to cure it. And daily uploading, I would tell anybody, creative person struggling with any kind of pretensions about themselves, you will cure yourself. I can say absolutely for sure, probably forever, I am cured of writer's block having done this project. Now, the second thing is you'll get also rid of your perfectionism, which might sound like the same thing, and they do intersect a lot. But what I find is that even people who do make stuff, they're so afraid. They're so afraid of putting out something that's not perfect. And that's actually a really big detriment to like their overall improvement. Because look, creative work, it's a lot like a sport. You just get better at it over time. And can you imagine if like a soccer player was refused to kick the ball because he said, no, I don't want to kick it imperfectly. It's like, no, that's actually how you get better at it. And the reality is you never learn what sticks until you throw a lot of the things at the wall. Here's a little quote I enjoy about perfectionism.
Perfectionism may look good in his shiny shoes, but he's a little bit of an asshole and no one invites him to their pool parties.
It's a nice way of saying perfectionism looks great, is terrible for creative work. Now, the third thing I'm going to say that you get out of going daily is that the rhythmic nature of uploading gets you out of your head about how the video is doing. One big problem that a lot of new creators, new artists, new musicians have is they look at especially their starting work as like everything has to be a masterpiece. And the reality is it won't all be a masterpiece. And one thing that just getting into a rhythm does is it kind of gives you the option to decouple yourself from how did this video do? How did this video do? Was it the greatest video I've ever made? It's got to be the greatest video I've ever made. Otherwise, I won't upload. Going daily just gets you into this rhythmic swing where it's honestly, I can't pay attention to yesterday's video because, hey, we got to work on today's. That's it. Done. Finished. Hey, if last video was a bomb, hey, I got another swing today. If today's video was great, doesn't matter. I got a swing tomorrow. But there are problems, okay? Look, don't let anyone tell you that like, hey, just go daily, man. It's like the same thing as, making weekly content. It's not. I mean, all creators who go daily will tell you, and even right now, like I am, for a while there, I think this was the first weekend I took off in 4 months. And that really can mess with you. And I think one of the problems is that like in this hustle, in this like pursuit of being better at what you do, you can end up sacrificing your longevity by getting burnt out early on. And I think Casey Neistat's a great example of this, of how, you can be doing very well going daily and still burn out because you just have zero time to recharge. And not only that, every moment of your life is like devoted to it. You're just obsessed with like the next video. You know what I mean?
All I was thinking about all the time was my work, 24/7. So when I wasn't doing my work, I was pretending. Like the time we hung out, when we first met, you came by my studio. All I was thinking about then is like, okay, how do I parlay this into content for my episode for today?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I wasn't excited to meet you or happy to be around you, but the reality was that was what was going on.
Yeah.
And then you start to push that your kids. Like, cool, I'm hanging out with my kids. How can I make this moment something vloggable? Hang out with my wife. How can I make this vloggable without her knowing? And you start to go f***ing crazy.
And it makes those experiences also pretty hollow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it starts to make you hollow.
Now for this next con, let's go back to the board, okay? The conspiracy board here, guys, please, okay? Because the next thing I want to tell you about, you should know, you will have to put out videos that you know are not your best work. And it's not easy to do if you're someone who takes pride in their work. And it's not because you're trying to give people bad things. It's literally, that's the best you can do in 24 hours. Now, the opposite is also true, that you'll have days where you just like, you make a great piece of content in 24 hours that you can like stand behind and you think is as good as what you could make in a month. Like, I mean, I look at my video on James Arthur Ray, where I interview the grieving mother of her daughter that James Ray killed in a sweat lodge. That interview had me in tears. And I would hang my hat on that interview any day of the week. We have the Jay Mazzini investigation. That is an amazing serialized arc, but not everything can be like that exciting, that level of content. And that's just the reality. And, something that I was thinking about Stephen King. He's one of my favorite authors, like he wrote one of my all-time favorite books, Lisey's Story. And I wish I could tell you that all of Stephen King's books are great, but they're not. If you've ever looking through Stephen's back catalog, dude, some of them, okay, just gonna be honest. Honestly, Stephen, some of them suck. But the reality is that, when I later read his book on writing, you learn that, this is a process. Sometimes you feel inspired. Sometimes you have all the great ideas. Sometimes you don't. It's the same guy, but part of the work is just like pumping out content and not being overly judgmental about, is this the best work I've ever done? Or is this just more practice for me to write my next inspired work? And not everyone has to live by that, by the way. I think there are a lot of people who they only ever want to let great things into their catalog. And I think that's a whole content strategy. I think that's fine. It's much more like the George R.R. Martin model, where it may take you much longer to get a book series out, like your epic work, and you may want to take years and years to do that. But at the end of the day, it is just a different frame. You will see these like two content styles butt heads from time to time. Even in one interview, I think George R.R. Martin explicitly just asked, like, how do you write so fast to Stephen King? And I think the answer is they just have two different formulas for their own work.
Is there anything that you've always wanted to ask me?
Yes, there is something I want to ask you.
All right.
How the do you write so many books so fast?
I actually think that layered within this like hilarious exchange is a really deep divide between like two approaches to making stuff. If all you ever want to make is like perfect things, you will be like George R.R. Martin, wondering how the people who are more willing to just like sort of grind out every day, how they get so much stuff done. And I think both are valid ways of approaching the creative process. But I think I find myself more comfortable with the Stephen King model just personally. Now, the last thing we're going to have to go to the board for, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to go to the board to tell you about, because This is the sad truth of daily uploads for those of you who want to know. And this is probably the part that will disqualify a lot of people, and probably the reason that I'm going to kind of cut back on daily vlogging, daily uploading a bit, which is that prepare to never see your family. Okay, that is a rule of making daily content. You just don't have time. This is an interview between Pete Holmes and Jon Stewart, obviously the famous host of The Daily Show, where they talk about this. He represents sort of the daily grind, by the way.
I just want to know how you balance an actual life with this mania.
Pete, you really don't. That's the secret here. Is
Surrender?
you're on your way to being a shell of a man. All I can say is, welcome to the team.
It's a funny way of putting a hard truth, which is that a lot of the YouTubers that I've seen go daily, I mean, it's hard on them, it's hard on their family, because you're just nonstop grind. You're just nonstop. Which is why today I'm telling you guys that this is not forever. I'm gonna my new commitment to you is that I will make videos when I feel like making them, and it will probably be pretty frequently because I have a blast doing this. I love like just being able to get out my thoughts regularly. But I'm not gonna be this. Like, YouTube's fun. I like you guys. Don't love you. I love my family, and that's and my friends and all that kind of stuff. So for me, when I look at this and I think about daily uploads, I think that's a part of it. That's a part of the dark bargain, is that, you know, you get a lot done. You can be incredibly creative. You get to iterate through ideas. By the way, something we didn't talk about, a good thing is like you get better at this thing of like making videos so much faster. I don't know, I didn't leave with this, by the way. This is like one of the greatest pros. Than if you had just made, a video a week, a video a month. Like, this is you if you're daily. You're just constantly taking more swings at the proverbial algorithm than anyone else is. And I think that's, you learn a lot. But it's a dark bargain, boys. So, yeah, that's what I've learned from daily uploading for the past 100 days. Starting now, I'm taking weekends off, and that's it. If I can get 7 videos done in 5 days, that's great. If not, sorry. Like, I'm in it for the marathon, and I don't want to be, like Casey Neistat talking about burnout, and like, I think he's changing careers, but I mean, the reality of burnout is once you're burned out, like it's hard to get back in the saddle. So for now, I think, maybe a few less videos, maybe a few more videos on Coffee Break. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I know what you mean. This ain't what it seemed. Nothing but a trick, trying to sell me on a dream, but that was where you lost me. Wake up and smell the coffee.